Ferrari seems to be having a hard time avoiding scandals and lands in hot water again over another accusation, the third in 3 years. Not to mention, Sunday, May 8th was a night to forget for the Italian side as Red Bull's Verstappen wins his third in 5 games. According to Formula1.com, Charles Leclerc said Red Bull's superior tyre management during the Miami Grand Prix meant they were too quick for Ferrari as the Monegasque surrendered victory to title rival Max Verstappen. Championship leader Leclerc led away from the pole and began gradually building a lead over Verstappen, who had jumped the second Ferrari of Carlos Sainz at the start. But as the stint went on, Verstappen emerged as the faster of the two and passed Leclerc to take the lead. Leclerc attacked Verstappen for several laps once the duo had swapped from medium to hard tyres, but then fell back, and from there, Verstappen eased to his third win in 5 races. Let's have a brief review of Ferrari's hottest scandals in recent times. In 2019, Ferrari was accused of running an illegal power unit, and it is claimed that this malpractice helped the Italian team win a few Grand Prix that same year. In the first quarter of 2020, Ferrari and the auto racing governing body, FIA, had what could be called an agreement or a settlement over reports from multiple sources that the Italian side had altered fuel flow to their engines. If this were true, it means Ferrari would have exploited the massive power boost that this would bring. And when rubber hits asphalt, the other teams will be left in their wake. While Ferrari is the team that is currently being scrutinized, many other teams have been trying to outclass their competition by all means necessary, including cutting corners, sleazy, right? From freezing fuel to hidden fuel tanks and even outright illegal reverse engineering of the red lights. Many F1 engineers are always on the lookout for loopholes in the regulations in order to be more innovative and gain one on the rivals. Scott Mansell, a British racing driver, explained on his YouTube channel Driver61 that in 2011, Red Bull designed their front wing to bend. Along the straight, he put it, the wing flexes. Then when the speed comes off in the braking zone, it pops back up again. Why did Red Bull do this? To create downforce by bringing the wing closer to the ground. The wing and the ground work together to trap the air. It works as a kind of tunnel, and this accelerates the airflow. This creates a low pressure zone sucking the wing to the ground. This is a demonstration of Bernoulli's principle. The engineers know this, so they make the most of it. The huge force from sucking of the wing to the ground bends the wing, pulling it even closer to the ground and producing more downforce. The strength, design and weight of carbon components deform exactly as you intend at high speeds. This yields a huge performance benefit. When at medium load, it would bend down and gain downforce. But when at top speeds, the enormous load would actually twist the wing backwards, decreasing the wing angle and shedding drag. This solution was 100% legal, and other teams had to work hard to develop solutions of their own to stay in the competition. Freezing the tank is another crazy means engineers bend the rules. Refueling of cars during the race was banned, so drivers had to compete within the limits of their 220-litre tanks. For the most part, this meant completing the race with a 1400 horsepower turbo engine. This was a real struggle. It would mean lifting off the throttle at the end of the stretch in order to save fuel, and no driver would do that. They want to win, obviously. The team found another loophole. They realized their only limit was the size of the tank, not how much fuel can go in it. What if we cooled the tank to negative 30 degrees centigrade? That's exactly what they did. Eventually, as much as 250 litres fit in a 220-litre tank. This compressed volume would also increase power since more fuel molecules are being injected into the engine. More fuel molecules, higher combustion, higher power. Too much pressure from that much fuel on a tank that size places the racer at risk. But in spite of that, many teams did it anyway. Or is it the matter of secret tanks? A number of race teams have landed in trouble for having an extra fuel tank that generates more power and gives them that edge they need to stay a step ahead of everyone else. one of the most nefarious instances of Formula One history has to be this one. Engineers from a team discovered that the signal lights that are used for the race are operated by a radio signal. What these engineers did was they reverse engineered this radio signal and connected it to headphones to be used by the drivers, so that after the 5-second countdown, they will receive the signal at exactly 100 milliseconds before the lights go off. It was not until the 1999 European Grand Prix, after the FIA had their suspicions, that the drivers were caught right before the race, in front of the cameras and before the world. Frentzen, Häkkinen and Coulthard jumped the start in perfect unison. Coincidence, right? I think not. Most recently, Ferrari took part in a Pirelli tyre test a few weeks ago after the Imola 2022 Grand Prix the Monday after the race. Some of the other teams noticed Carlos Sainz was running a different floor design from his teammate Charles Leclerc, who had run in the morning session. Engineers from rival teams described this floor design as a new one. The Italian team had reportedly used this floor in a pre-season training, but the rival teams are not buying that claim. Some believe Ferrari were taking new parts into the tyre tests, which is in violation of the current regulations. F1's tyre test rules state cars at these tests must only use components of a specification that have been used in at least one race or TCC, testing of current cars, during the current championship year. These cars must fully comply with the provisions of the technical regulations. It adds, no test parts, component changes or setup changes will be permitted which give any sort of information to the competitor that is unrelated to the tyre test. Mechanical setup changes, driver control changes and component changes are permitted if agreed in advance with the tyre supplier that they are necessary for the correct evaluation of the tyres or to complete the tyre test. Toto Wolff, team principal and CEO of Mercedes AMG Petronas, gave his own opinion on the issue, saying, "The FIA just needs to be on top of these things. It can't be any team that runs a component in an environment. It shouldn't be doing that." And I guess if the FIA were not 100% on it, I'm sure they would be now. Even Christian Horner, team principal of 9-time world champion Red Bull, agrees with Wolff. He adds, "It's for the FIA to do police work and due diligence because these cars are so immature. It's still very early in the development stage. That type of test shouldn't turn into aerodynamic or performance tests. That is not the purpose of those tests." Zak Brown, CEO of McLaren, cited the 2019 Ferrari scandal, saying, "I think what's important is that we do have total trust in the FIA to police the sport. We've had in the past, not long ago, an engine violation a few years back and a significant fine. We don't know how much and we don't know exactly what was done." While there is no official statement on the current accusations, it is understood that Ferrari's change of floor for the afternoon of running was prompted by damage inflicted in the morning session. The FIA was satisfied that the floor that was fitted into Sainz's car for the afternoon was actually an older specification that had been run early in the year, so was in compliance with the rules. The prototype for the new floor is in the works, but has nothing to do with the current allegations leveled against Ferrari.